This is HBR News number 420. Blaze it. Trumped up charges, Peterson persecuted, Maui burns. Where we discuss the news of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Oh, I got the wrong people. Hold on a second, guys. Let me just go to here. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. Hope you guys are doing well this week and you're laughing at all of this absurdity so that you're not consumed by it. My name is Brian, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Mike J and Dr. Randomer Cam. Today is our 420th, well, plus more, episode of the news show. But, I mean, how could I pass up a chance to 420 anything?
Every day is 420.
So, anyway, we have a great show lined up for you guys this week, or today on this week's show. So please stick around, because it's going to be a good time. And a real quick shout out to the Rumble Gang. What's up, Rumble Gang? I see you all in the chat adding your cool doges. There's like this cool little comment you can make on Rumble only. There's a little gifs, and one of them is literally the doge with sunglasses doing a head bob. So, you know, drop your cool doges in the chat if you are on Rumble. And hello to the folks on all of our other streaming platforms like Twitch, Odyssey. I think we're on Odyssey. Or DLive, rather. Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. So, alright. So anyway, on this week's HBR News Show, we're going to be talking about the fires in Maui. I know that this is kind of an older story, but you know, I thought we would like get more info about it before we sort of chimed in. There's two stories that I think they happen to be happening around the same time, but I think they're totally related. One is Jordan Peterson, who's essentially going to have to be re-educated, and Trump has been arrested, and his mugshot's been making the rounds on the internet and more. So stick around; it's going to be a good time. There is no after show today, because I guess normally we're supposed to do like 10 after shows a month. We're more than 10, and there'll be like another one in the docket by Thursday. So I felt that instead of doing an after show today, I'm gonna be doing a game online on the Honey Badger Arcade channel with Lindsay. Lindsay and I are gonna play Family Feud, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna be live, so you can join us on Honey Badger Arcade and help us play some Family Feud. And I mean, that would be a good time. And you know what? If Mike, I don't know if Lauren has a PS4 and if we're like friends on there, but if she does, and if we are, she should get Family Feud, and then we can all play together. And all you gotta do is answer survey questions and try to upset Steve Harvey.
Yeah, next month we can. I'm back in the UK right now.
Oh, you're in the UK. Okay, yeah.
I can only stay in the US for 90 days at a time on an estate.
Right, and then you have to go back. When are you going back?
Yeah, in less than a month.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
Spend another 3 months.
Oh, so then you can come visit us here again.
Yeah, there's no limit to the number of times you can visit. You just can't spend more than 90 days there at a time.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense.
I mean, you could always just come in through the southern border, and then you can stay for however long you want. You get a house and,
yes,
you know, a car and a cell phone. But anyway.
And then when I come back to the UK, I can do it on a dinghy across the English Channel and get the same treatment in England.
Yeah. Exactly. Just tell them you're seeking your dream. You're a dreamer looking for a future. Anyway,
just tell them I don't believe in nations. I only believe in a one nation global government. And they go, please come in anywhere, Mr. Bugman, Mr. Anywhere person. You can go anywhere you like. Make sure you vote communist, though.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So anyway, if you want to hang out after this show is over, I will be starting a stream on my gaming channel, Honey Badger Arcade. We'll be playing Family Feud, and of course we encourage anyone who's going to join us to participate by offering up answers so that we can try to beat the computer, because we don't have any human opponents to play against. So anyway, it's fun. Anyway, so that's it for that. And also, if you want to be sure to be able to follow us even after the internet finally gets tired of our shit, I mean big tech specifically, go to badgerfeed.com. That's badgerfeed.com or honeybadgerradio.com, so that you can basically, find where all of our content lives. when that is not where it is. And also, we are still doing our monthly fundraiser. We're nearing the end of the month, so always at the end of the month, there's a bit of a hustle to try to meet the goals. If you want to contribute, if you want to help us out, please go to feedthebadger.com/support, or you can just go to feedthebadger.com, and usually it's like one of the options right there to feed the badger. All right. With all that out of the way, hey Mike, how you doing? I'm glad that you. I had to start right away. So, are you there, Mike?
I need to.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Hello.
Before we start with the stories, I do have a follow-up to something else. So, did we talk about Andy No's legal case last week or the week before? I can't remember. Sorry,
the week before. I think it was the week before that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the week before last. So he has put out breaking news. This is not really breaking. It's kind of recent. It was like a week ago. But I wanted to do a follow-up because last time it didn't look so good for him, and this is a bit better. So, Andy No on Twitter, X, says, breaking. At hearing today regarding 3 defaulted Antifa defendants in my No versus Rose City Antifa lawsuit, the court heard evidence about the brutal June 29, 2019 beating I suffered at a Rose City Antifa event where I was seriously injured. The court found that I was indeed battered and assaulted by Madison Denny Lee Allen, Catherine Corbin Balea, and Samich Overkill Scott Deputy, formerly Joseph Christian Evans. Samich Overkill sounds like is that a band name?
How are you going to appear in court with a name like that?
That was someone who actually changed their name somewhere between the battering of Andy No and now.
Oh, to Samich Overkill?
Have suggested.
Yeah, and probably changed their gender as well, just to make sure they go to the prison of their choosing.
You're actually correct. Oh,
God.
The court awarded me, and $300,000 to be split equally amongst these 3 attackers. Today's victory is a small vindication for the disappointing jury verdict earlier this month at trial. Collecting on these judgments will pose serious challenges. However, I'm deeply grateful for the support of the At Liberty Center and my counsel, Dorothy Yamamoto, Gregory Michael, at PNJ Ban, James Bucall, and Mark Trammell for believing in me and helping me hold these attackers accountable for trying to violently silence my First Amendment rights. While it will continue to be a steep uphill battle to collect today's awarded damages, given the default defendant's history of evasion, so apparently, yes, that has happened, I remain determined to hold Antifa and its members accountable for their violent attacks. And he says that his brave colleague, Katie Daviscourt of T-Post Millennial, was at the court hearing to report on today's breaking ruling. She has been relentlessly targeted of violent Antifa militants for reporting, on my lawsuit. And we basically went through the other stuff, I think, when we covered the story. But it's good to know that he has, in fact, been awarded $300,000. And
but surely you can't sue something that's just an idea. you can't sue a myth, can you?
Like sue a unicorn or a chimera or a cyclops or something. I guess you can. I think I'm gonna try that out.
I've never seen an Antifa. Have any of you? This is just freedom fighters.
I think if you follow the rainbow to the end, I think you literally find Antifa. That's where you can catch them and make them give you their empty pot that would normally
if you can get them to show up at court.
Yeah, if you can get them to come to court. There's probably a weird ritual involved with these. But
involves getting the piss kicked out of you.
That's a start. That's what I mean by a weird ritual. So I think, good news for Andy No. I at least wanted to give you guys that information. I would imagine, a lot of times these Antifa people, they're like trust fund babies that have pretty wealthy families. They can afford to live in Portland. I from what I heard, it's not cheap to live in Portland. Unless of course, you destroy it like, and then the property value goes down, and all of a sudden it is cheap to live there. But
They
anyway,
get paid to do their shit.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how poor they are. Someone will pay them to organize. Short source.
Anyway, so those are my thoughts on that. I just wanted to get you guys caught up. Anybody have any opinion on the Andy No thing? Is there something I left out? Oh, you know what? What we didn't bring up last time, I think, was one of Andy's council people's, one of the lawyers, I think her car was like vandalized. They broke all the windows and shit. Like what? Well, she found her car with all the windows broken and damage done to it. Obviously,
to be perfectly fair, that could just be a consequence of Portland.
It could be right, but it was. I mean, you're right. It could just be that. it's just something worth mentioning that while she was in court doing her thing, her car was vandalized and the windows shattered and everything else. So who knows? I just know you should probably get out of there. Anyway. Let us know what you guys think about this in the comments. We're going to move on to the actual first story. So let's talk about Trump. Mr. J? I think you did this one, right?
Certainly, Brian.
Okay.
So, this is a very complicated story. I mean, at the end of it, it's rather simple to understand what is going on here, but there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
So, after the mugshot heard, or rather seen, around the world, former President Donald J. Trump has his court dates. Federal Judge Tanya Chutkin, in rejecting both Trump's legal team and special counsel Jack Smith, has elected to set her own trial dates. March 4th, 2023, which is one day before Super Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
For those who don't know, or maybe for those who are simply not Americans, or, maybe even if you're American and you don't know the significance of Super Tuesday. Super Tuesday is significant because it's the date when several of the states in the U.S. cast their primary election votes, and around 1/3 of the delegates are up for grabs. So the way it actually works during an election year is you don't have a complete direct democracy where, one vote for your candidate equals one vote for your candidate. You're basically voting for your delegates for your states. The delegates then, in theory, go and vote for the candidate. So you vote for the delegates cast their support for the candidate. And that's supposed to line up almost one for one, as in you're supporting somebody that somebody supports who you want them to support. And Super Tuesday is really, it's a big deal because you have several states doing this all at once. Whereas before you have hey, look, it's Rhode Island's turn. Okay, now next week it's Vermont. Super Tuesday is over a dozen states usually. And that's really big because whoever comes out the winner on Super Tuesday, they usually go on to be the candidate for their political party. Because they get a majority of the votes, or they get such a big lead that that's when you start getting people conceding. That's when you start getting people being like, okay, well, we're 100 delegates behind. We're never gonna make this shit up.
Yeah.
So it's feeling like the selection of this date was intentional. It's caused many to question the validity of the charges against Trump, and many more to call the process against Trump nakedly partisan and, ironically, an effort to interfere in the 2023 presidential election.
The trial date after that will be in October or November of 2024.
23.
Weird prediction, I know. It's like predicting that the sun's going to come up tomorrow, but it will.
Yeah.
Well, the question is which one? Because he has no less than, I believe, 4 trial dates at the moment, but we'll get that in a second.
Oh, boy.
So, such a date would all but guarantee that Trump has no time to campaign to seek re-election, as trial dates would force him to stray not very far from Georgia. This would be crippling to any presidential hopeful, as the first few months of any election year and their win campaigns for pretty much they're made or broken. Trump's lawyers, the ones that are, I guess, not in jail, have called this case ridiculous and a show trial. And this is but one of many trials Trump is facing in 2023 with, again, special counsel Jack Smith's trial to be set in May 2024, Trump's New York trial to happen later in March, and Trump's second Georgia trial, that is from DA Fani Willis, not having a firm start date just yet.
Now, what you've described there is what happens in the normal course of things, but it's safe to say this isn't the normal course of things. Pardon my perhaps naive Brit-bong ignorance, but rhetorical question: does Trump even need to campaign? I mean, he needs to run. Obviously, he needs to apply for the office or whatever, but it seems he already has. He hasn't turned up to any of the Republican debates so far, and that hasn't hurt his prospects at all. He's still many nautical miles ahead of anyone else. As long as he has that presence in the polls, he really doesn't need a presence on the campaign trail. He could even win the presidency as a write-in candidate from a jail cell if it comes to that. He could hang back and play golf for the next 14 months and he'd still win. He could take he could take more time off than Joe Biden has and still win. Joe Biden barely campaigned at all in 2020. And even when he did attempt some kind of rally, he might as well have not bothered, since the biggest crowd he could ever draw was like 2 journalists and a dachshund named Colin. And he still won the election, didn't he? Absolutely legitimately. It's just that people who like and support Joe Biden, they just don't go to rallies. They prefer to send their ballots in by mail.
Yeah.
Just this one year, the first time it's ever happened, from their non-existent address under a bridge, and from beyond the grave. Don't worry, we're allowed to say this on YouTube now, not just sarcastically, but sincerely. So, Trump, on the other hand, already knows that he can draw a crowd of thousands at the drop of a hat anywhere in the country, and that was in 2020, before everyone had suffered through the Joe Biden experience. After 3 years of this shit, only a dribbling Nimrod with porridge for brains could possibly vote for Joe Biden ever again. And he is presumably going to be the Democratic candidate next year. Even if he dies, they'll just employ some paid actor in a rubber mask, if they haven't already. It's assumed that a lot of people voted for Trump in 2016 just because they wanted anyone but Hillary. And apparently, a lot of people voted for Biden in 2020 because they wanted anyone but Trump. Well, if that's the case, if that's the trend, if people are voting based on who they don't want rather than who they do want, then Biden's fucked. All the pallets of ballots in the world cannot save Joe Biden from a landslide of Himalayan proportions. Everything, I mean, literally everything has got objectively worse since that stumbling zombie got into office. You could stuff a turd sandwich inside a giant douche and nominate it for president. It will still beat Joe Biden at this point. And Trump has already been the president. He's already demonstrated what he's about, so he's nothing to prove. He doesn't need to convince people that he'll do a good job. He already has. He certainly doesn't need to convince people that the Democrat Party in its current state is the most flagrantly evil and corrupt entity in the history of American politics.
Mm-hmm.
The mugshot does that by itself. The pig circus that brought us the mugshot has done it by itself. Every president in history has been above the law. Regardless of the illegal wars that they start and the millions of people they murder, the only president in history who has not been above the law is one Donald J. Trump. It's evident from the historical events we're seeing play out. And guess what? People tend to be in favor of having a leader who is beholden to the law, someone who can be held accountable, someone who can be criticized in the mainstream media, if nothing else. People would rather have a leader who is over criticized than a leader
who can't be criticized,
who will have you arrested for criticizing them. Yeah, most people. I mean, there's a growing contingency of people who want oikophobic authoritarianism and will gladly suck the balls of any money laundering, crack smoking thief who ticks that box. But they are still nothing more than a loud minority comprised of the shitbags who run the legacy media and the smooth-brained NPCs who watch it. In conclusion, I won't say you have nothing to worry about. A global superpower on the brink of collapsing into a banana republic is certainly something worth worrying about, but they wouldn't be doing this if they weren't so desperate. And they wouldn't be so desperate if they weren't so afraid. It's not like me to offer such a white pill, but as the memes say, if the situation was hopeless, then their propaganda would not be necessary. They're doing this because they're scared. And they should be scared, because when Trump gets his second term, these fuckers are going to jail. And they know it.
Yeah.
So keep them scared.
Yeah.
Keep them in that frantic frenzy like the cornered animal they are. Your enemies are making a tumescent litany of mistakes. History dictates, therefore, that we should not interrupt them. And so I will not interrupt them any further.
Go ahead, Mike.
So, something I will agree with is if the election for candidate was today, I'm rather certain, Trump would probably win, with Ramaswamy being a distant second and, I don't know, everyone else clambering for the 7% of who's in third.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be today. We've got several months until we actually get there. And they're going to desperately try everything they can. And they're currently in the process of that. So, if it was just, he's got some charges against him. He was arrested. Here's a mugshot. Well, actually, now we've decided one of these charges sticks. So, he's going to be in jail. You're going to have to vote from him from jail. To, we decided that charge was a heckin' treason. So now his name's no longer on the ballot. You're going to have to pencil it in yourself. Once these grains of sand start becoming a heap, it is going to peel away certain voters. And I think that is what they are counting on. That is what they are clinging to.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the 2024 election, when you look at specifically only battleground states where there was a chance to win. I'm not talking like, your Californias where, come on, that hasn't been red since the 90s. But you're looking at, your Georgias, your Michigans, your Pennsylvanias. The margin to victory was something only like 42,000 votes.
Yeah.
Or 4,200, right? No. 42. I think 42,000 was correct. But
what if you adjust it for if they knew about the Hunter Biden laptop?
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah.
All of these little things, all of these very minute things could have shifted something massively.
For sure.
And that's what they're going to try to be doing. They're just waiting for one of these shitballs to stick against the wall, so to speak. And then they're going to proceed to phase 2.
Yeah. Oh no, I agree. I think they're gonna be. It's like the Wacky Races. You know the Wacky Races is an old cartoon show by Hanna-Barbera about all
Everyone remembers the Wacky Races.
Well, I don't know. There's
anyone who doesn't is a fucking zoomer, and you can fuck off.
No. Okay, in the Wacky Races, it's like that. Snidely Whiplash would always do a bunch of like gimmicks and schemes and traps and stuff to try to like cheat to win, and he had to just throw everything at the wall, or like you could think of it as the Coyote in the Roadrunner, and that's what they're doing. It's like anything to slow him down in any capacity, they will do all of it, and there's no they can't go. Well, no, there's always a room for them to go even lower than they've already gone. And I think that, like, the reason why I picked this story was because it's related to the Jordan Peterson story. And it sort of shows how far these people will go to, destroy someone or try to change who they are, try to control them, try to reprogram them. Trump can't be reprogrammed. He can't be coerced. He can't be bought. He was saying this from the beginning. It's one of the reasons why he won. So they're going to have to destroy his reputation. And of course, that hasn't worked yet, but they'll go further. And I think for one, it's worth noting that I think that if Trump had run for president in the 80s or the 90s, where people would bring him on talk shows and they would ask him about that, they would constantly throw this at him, like, hey, why don't you run for president? Hey, what would you do if you were president, right? This was while, like,
and he would have run as a Democrat at the time.
At the time, yes, at the time. That was like what, but the thing is that, like, I think at the end of the day, like, Trump was just running on whatever ticket he thought he had the best chance with, and I think that's why he ran as a Republican. But if you look at what he believes, what his policies are, I mean, it doesn't really fit neatly into any box. This is why I don't like to get into the party part of it. I think that Trump was just being efficient. He was like, well, if I run as a Democrat, I got to run against Hillary Clinton, and there's no way that they're going to make me the nominee over her. So I'm going to, like, stand against her, and I'm going to run on the other side because all these guys are low energy, and I can basically defeat them all. I mean, if he hadn't run, it probably would have been Hillary versus Jeb or something. I don't know. I don't know what that would have turned out with, but probably worse than we are now. So anyway, but I think that one of the things that has changed since the 90s is that the way that people like Trump communicated, the way that people like that communicate, and I don't want to, like, gender this per se, but he talks like a man does. So, like, when he says stuff that people say, oh, have you heard what he said on Twitter or whatever? It doesn't bother me because I, like, have friends that grew up in Chicago. It's a tough city and people talk like that. And I didn't really see why it was a big deal. But that was, like, literally the number one thing, the only thing that people had against him. Oh, I don't, he brags a lot or whatever, right? And it was like this thing they saw as a personality flaw, and I used to accept it as a personality flaw. But, like, now that I look back on it, I realize that our entire society has become so feminine that when a guy just talks like a guy, and it doesn't have to be him or whatever, it could just be any guy, like, even, just like a guy off the street. Like, I meet people on the street and they talk like that, and none of it bothers me. It just makes me think, why are we so, like, I don't know, why do we get so freaked out over someone using, like, not perfect language? Why are we living in a and I think, I don't want to say the internet did this, but I think that there is this thing where people really want to be careful before they say anything because they don't want to be corrected, they don't want to be lambasted, they don't want somebody going in there going, actually, they don't want someone saying, I don't like your tone. you know, they don't want that, so people work hard to avoid it, and then it ends up in this kind of, you know, feminine, agreeable way of communicating where you're like picking your words very carefully, and then nobody says what they mean.
That's
And
another
then-
lie that we were that it's another lie that we were sold during his initial run in 2016. That
Yeah.
oh, you know, you have to have a certain level of decorum to be
Yeah.
the president. You
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to say certain things and behave a certain way, or else
Yeah.
you're simply disqualified and you should vote for the other Joe.
Yeah, and I think that's BS too. Like, I had a friend back before Trump ran in 2016, and he was like, you know, who are you voting for? I was like, oh, I'm going to vote for Trump. And my reasoning was purely based on policy and like the fact that, you know, he isn't someone that you can buy. And I thought, you know, well, I saw what happened with Obama, and I saw what happened with George W. Bush. So why would I trust any of these people? This guy is an outsider. I want to see how he does. That was my whole thing. And this guy who hated Trump, and he doesn't know why. Like, most of these people, if you like pin them down, you're like, why do you hate this person? They can't give you anything that justifies their vitriol. It's not that there's nothing that you can criticize them for. It's just nothing that's going to be like, oh yeah, that is very serious, you know. Especially when you're looking at what what the other choices are. And he was like, well, he's not presidential. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And then we got into it because I was like, well, Obama's a very well-spoken guy that, like, you know, can sound
Brian,
really smart.
That means he hasn't started a war in the Middle East.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah, I know. And so, okay, I don't want to get into the politics of this per se, because I know that when I have defended Trump on principle, like if I say this guy's being treated unfairly, people get really upset because they don't like him, and so they think I shouldn't defend him. It's just like the Michael Jackson, the Bill Cosby, the Harvey Weinstein, the Andrew Tate. It's the same thing. These people, the media, the woke, whatever, they find a target, they attack that target, and then they sling, you know, shit at them, and they do so without paying attention to any rules. It's all about, you know, appeals to the majority opinion or an expert opinion or whatever, and they don't, like, if I say, look, I don't think this is fair, then they get upset because they think, oh, well, you just love him now. It's like, no, I don't know the guy. I'm just saying that you're not being, like, you know, you're not being rational. You're behaving like a woman. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. You're just like mad. Oh, we're fighting, you know. And so, like, with this though, I want to be clear. This election in the United States in 2024 is not about Trump at the end of the day. It is about whether or not elections matter. Because what the Democrats are doing and what the left is doing is they are trying to essentially control who gets to run and who wins. And that is something that is far more important than whoever wins the election in 2024. Because if we can't vote, if our vote doesn't matter, if people get black-pilled on that enough, then we're fucked. Like, this is it. Like, there's no, this is why I'm voting for Trump. It's not because I love the guy. It's not because I feel like, I think Sargon has said that there's like a kind of like narrative reason why he has to win, because he has to be able to be redeemed. It's not for those reasons. I think those are all fine. But I think it comes down to, do votes even matter? Because if we are essentially like, if it gets rigged, and it's being rigged right now, this whole court shenanigan BS is part of it, and not people are not outraged enough. Like the other Republican candidates, I know they want to beat him, but they have to look at what's going on. Not just the Republican, Democrats, like Robert F. Kennedy's gonna get fucked out of his nomination. And I mean, like, if a Democrat had to win that was running, I'd be okay with that guy winning. You know, so again, I'm not doing this along party lines, but I know they're not gonna let him be the guy. I mean, like, he'll end up like his uncle if they can help it, right? And I mean, how
have they not killed Trump? That's what I want to know.
Well,
I know he has private security that could rival any actual president, but They have guns that can fire heart attacks into people. Apparently, that's what happened to Andrew Breitbart. And this isn't a myth, by the way. There is such a thing as
the heart attack gun. Yeah.
Oh, the CIA showed it off themselves.
Well, I think
and he's appeared in public all sorts of times. There's nothing stopping them from firing a heart attack bullet into him and killing him, but they haven't done it. And that in itself is a bit weird because
it's a bit weird. But I think they know
the incentive to kill Trump is far greater than the incentive to kill the Kennedys ever was. Surely.
Yeah, I think the reason is that they're fairly certain that would just make him into a martyr.
Oh, for 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
alive, but he wouldn't become the president because that's the only thing that can stop him.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, then someone else will pick up the torch and carry it for him, probably.
Like DeSanctimonious, yeah.
Yeah, maybe or Vivek
Ramaswamy at this point.
I like Vivek Ramaswamy a lot.
Yeah, everyone does. That's why the Democrats won't let that happen either. They'll fucking kill him as well.
Yeah, he shouldn't rap ever. But like no, I think he's
cease
fine.
And desist from Eminem.
Yeah, Eminem gave him a cease and desist. Oh my god,
which is hilarious because like he's not using the song to make any profit, and it was a cover. Both of those things are protected.
Well, it wasn't even karaoke. He was just like singing over the song. Like I do in my car when I'm like driving. I don't listen to Eminem that much, but anyway, though, like but I think that why this matters, it comes down to whether or not like we live in a republic that uses the votes to determine, who we put into office. And I know that a lot of people are like, I'm not political, I don't believe in this or that person or this party or this wing or that wing. I know, but the reality is there's no, like, you may not be interested in politics, but politics is definitely interested in you. And you can't ignore it. It's not going to go away. They're going to put like right now, you are dealing with the consequences of whether you voted or didn't vote. Doesn't matter. Who you voted for doesn't matter. You're paying like $9 a pound for ground beef or like, however much it is per gallon of gas right now. All of that shit, whether or not you can find a job, what your pension looks like, whether you're going to be able to retire, all of those things are based in whoever is in office, whether that's the top or local. There's no avoiding it. So you have to, like, you can't just not make choices unless you're going to go all the way off grid. And even then, like, if the United States becomes totalitarian enough, then they're going to just come find you anyway. So you might as well, like, at least try to create, participate in a sense that votes matter and that you'll be able to put people in office who will make it their primary job of essentially not making your life harder than it already is. Because that's the only thing we can ask. And that's all I've ever wanted. And I think that when Trump was in office for the last 4 years, first of all, he was pissing off the right people, which tells you something. Second of all, life was, like, things were cheaper, and there were more jobs, and he did a lot of good stuff.
Gas was under $2.
Yeah, gas was, it was like less than $2 here in Roanoke. So I mean, like that, meat was everything was affordable. Like ever since he left, like fucking, BlackRock is buying up land and cows are disappearing, and it's just awful everywhere. And I think that that is all a product of government's involvement with corporations. It's basically fascism. That's what we're living under right now in a lot of ways. And I know that's an overused word, but in this case, it actually applies. It's not just like, fascism because flags and colors. It's like corporations in bed with government. That's what it is. And that's what's happening. So anyway, I think that
you should have made George Washington your king. The offer was actually out there.
Yeah, I know. Washington he didn't want it, but
yeah, he denied it. Well, George Washington should have accepted the monarchy. It's all his fault.
Yeah, we'll blame the father of the country. Anyway, but I just wanted to say that that's why this matters, and this authoritarianism that's going on in every single institution, pushed by the same people. It's not just, obviously not just the United States. Actually, it's probably better here than in most places, but it's a big problem in the UK and in Canada, which we're going to get into. But yeah, that I'm just telling you right now, like I'm voting for him unless something drastic happens. This is completely not, it is completely beyond the pale. Like we're way past, when it was like off the rails. We're way past that. The train is like in outer space and it's like crashing into a distant sun, Alpha Centauri or something. It's not anywhere on the rail. This is ridiculous and it has to end. So I'm calling for rationality. I'm asking people, if you are a registered voter in the United States, tell people about this. This is not the way we should do things. If you let this slide, then because you don't like the guy or whatever, you're only paving the way for things to get much worse. Because if they can do this in 2024, then they will do it forever, and that's going to be our life. So this has to end. But anyway, let us know what you guys think about this in the comments. I have a bunch of super chats. I forgot to read, or not super chats, super chows. So I forgot to read those. But I'm going to go through those right now. What's up, Rumble Gang? Okay. So this one is from yesterday. Iggy Thunders gives us $100. That is amazing. Thank you so much. And says, the next time some postmodern sock puppet blathers about the 19th Amendment, show them this. Quote, this is actually because Allison we were doing a fundraising stream, I think it was yesterday, and she was talking about her Twitter adventures because Allison's always fighting with people on Twitter. So, women's suffrage, the right of women to vote, was won twice in Utah. It was granted first in 1870 by the territorial legislature, but revoked by Congress in 1887 as part of a national effort to rid the territory of polygamy. It was restored in 1895 when the right to vote and hold office was written into the Constitution of the new state, end quote, and then he includes a link. Then it says Wyoming gave it in 1969 when it was still, or 1869, I'm sorry, when it was still a territory. Wisconsin did it also in 1869 as the first union state to grant women suffrage as a group. By the 1900s, almost every state granted women partial or absolute suffrage as a group. P.S. Keep fighting like hell, Badgers. Thank you for that. It's basically just like, we didn't really talk about the vote on the fundraising stream, which was on Sunday, not yesterday. Yesterday I did a fireside chat with Dan Parrish. Check it out. I thought it was pretty good. But rather, we were talking about a Twitter fight she had with a feminist, So thank you for the super chow, sir. And now we got one from Meredith G for $5, and she says, HBR News 420, blaze it. Here's the reality for the election. The working class is already feeling a recession, a market correction, and hard landing recession is likely in the next 6 to 12 months. TPTB are scared because Biden is losing with a core voting bloc. And that voting bloc is not going to vote for the generic Republican, but they will vote for Trump. Yeah, there's a lot of people talking about the black vote, after the mugshot, but I think it's a little, I wouldn't make that generalization. Just put it that way.
He's getting the criminal vote, but
yeah,
sorry to be controversial, but not all black people are criminals.
Yeah,
well, there has been a shift, and you've seen a poll that was taken recently that not in conjunction with the mugshot or anything, but the poll basically said support of Biden among the black population has fallen by 30%.
Yeah.
And they've often said, if a Democrat's support ever dips below a certain percent, they are almost guaranteed to not be able to win.
You know what I think? I think what did it. First of all, let me say this. I think that what the problem is the way that people are organizing the statistics. They're doing it based on race. I think that if you base it on gender, you'll see that it's like men. Like when you look at the blacks that are talking about voting for Trump and you look at who they are, it's all men. It's black men. And that makes perfect sense because they're going to be more concerned about like how much they pay in taxes, where their money is, how much they're bringing home, etc. As another example of that, the Oliver Anthony's song, right, Rich Men North of Richmond, the commies were trying to make it out to be a racist thing. Of course they were, because that's all they know. But there was this guy who put out a video of that basically plays the whole song with a bunch of people reacting to it. And the guy who made the video was trying to make the point, oh, look at all of these people of different races that are not, that are like basically vibing with this song. But yeah, it's true. But like when you really look at it though, it's like 90% men. And I was like, yeah, this is speaking to men more, not women. I mean, like, not to say that women don't have anything to take from it, but in general, when you're talking about these struggles, that your dollar isn't worth anything, that you're working really hard, you don't feel like you're getting much out of it, that you're struggling, that like these schools are trying to like groom your children, and these politicians are going off to Epstein Island or whatever it is. I think it's mostly going to get the attention of men and concerned fathers, and I think that's what that is. And I think the same thing here when it comes to this, the black vote. I would guarantee you that it's a majority of men that are switching gears. I guarantee it, because when it comes to the welfare state, again, black men are paying into that too. If they're working, I mean, which I assume most of them have to, they can't really get on welfare because that's reserved for women. So those are just my thoughts on that. But yes, thank you, Meredith G. I think that I guess we'll have to wait and see. Xeranx gives us $5 and says, and thank you, Xeranx, for that as well. There's a video of Trump where him and Larry King are at the Republican National Convention years back. Larry asks Trump why he's a Republican, and Trump said he doesn't know. So I think Trump has been on both sides. And about Trump being asked if he'd run for office, there's a video where a woman asks him and acknowledges that he's not old enough to run for president when she posed the question. So Trump, being 77, has been asked if he'd run since before he was 35. And the question I think some should ask is why he was being asked such a question before he was legally eligible to run. Well, I think people wanted that because he had a lot of opinions on the way the country was being run. And again, he's been like, in the public eye, well, for a really long time. But I think that when that started coming up was like in the 80s. I don't know if it was under Herbert Walker Bush or whatever, but I know that he appeared on Letterman and The Tonight Show and Leno and stuff, and they would say to him, hey, why don't you run for president? And he'd be like, well, I might do, he'd do the usual Trump thing. I don't know, maybe, But then he goes ahead and does it while Obama is in the office, and everyone loses their shit. So, I don't know. But anyway, thanks for the super childs, guys. Really appreciate it. We're going to move on to the next story. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. So let's go to Canada for another troubling story. So Mike J, if you could again.
I certainly, Brian. Hold up here. So Jordan Peterson, to make his re-education public, some of you may recall in November 2022, Jordan Peterson was ordered by the College of Psychologists of Ontario, CPO, to undergo social media re-education following his controversial tweets. Well, controversial in Canada, I guess. Just last week, an Ontario court ruled against Peterson's application, upholding the CPO's right to demand the psychologist to undergo social media coaching, i.e. brainwashing. The Ontario court ruled that the college's decision falls within its mandate to regulate the profession in the public interest and does not impact Peterson's freedom of expression. Yeah, of course.
Oh.
And quote from Peterson. So the Ontario Court of Appeal has ruled that the CPO can pursue their prosecution. If you think that you have a right to free speech in Canada, you're delusional, bucko. Peterson said on the platform X, formerly known as Twitter, following the ruling, quote, I will make every aspect of this public, and we will see what happens when utter transparency is the rule. Bring it on, woke moralists.
We'll see who cancels who. We'll see who cancels who. You gotta do it in the comments. Like most things, this...
Did he actually say bucko? No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. It's part of the Peterson.
No, it needed a bucko for sure. But I was curious.
Like most things, this whole affair affects regular people like you and I more than it affects Jordan Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing the Canadian government is holding hostage here is Peterson's license to practice psychology in a clinical setting. And in case you haven't noticed, he doesn't need to do that. He's a fucking millionaire, and he makes those millions from his books and his lectures. He's long since moved on from that whole monkey business, and it doesn't mean shit to him. It's like telling Charles Bukowski that you're going to take away his right to work in the postal service. Charles Bukowski used to work for the postal service. It's like telling Elon Musk that he's no longer allowed to oversee PayPal. He doesn't. He's moved on. Still, like a couple of other things. It's like telling Albert Einstein he's not allowed to work in the patent office anymore. You're not hurting him at all, but you are creating a chilling effect for anyone else who wants to work in the patent office, despite having some edgy things to say about the nature of gravity. And that's the whole point behind what Justin Trudeau is doing, and the lackeys under his command, of course. They're not coming after Jordan Peterson, they're coming after you. Jordan Peterson isn't even in the way, he's just there to be made an example of. It's like that loose sort of rule for prisoners. If you want to be safe and respected in a prison block, the first thing you do is go up to the biggest, toughest guy you see, sucker punch him in the back of the head. Not so much that he suffers any injuries, just so much that everyone else knows you mean business. This is a poor analogy, I know, since Justin Trudeau and his lackeys are not prisoners. They are the prison guards. But that works too, as observed in the Stanford prison experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And so Peterson has a couple of options. Either he just holds up two middle fingers to the Canadian government and goes, I ain't doing shit, you can suck my fat tits. Or he actually goes through with it, like he's saying, just to see what happens. And even better, he documents it. I doubt he's allowed to film the proceedings or anything, but presumably there's nothing stopping him relaying to the public the details of what these re-education programs entail. And then it's up to the relevant authorities to deny that any of it is happening and to continue gaslighting the public into not realizing that the Trudeau regime is mind-controlling Canadian citizens to a degree that would make Joseph Goebbels throw up in his mouth. So, yeah, I hope Peterson does that. It's a chance to do some actual, dare I say, journalism.
Oh, yeah.
And who better to do some investigative journalism than a guy with millions of devoted disciples? Of course, there's some kind of if there's some kind of non-disclosure agreement contract that prohibits anyone from even discussing the nature and proceedings of these, I'll go ahead and call them concentration camps, then by all means, Mr. Peterson, tell them to fuck off and be on your merry way. At that point, the only information the public needs to know is that the Canadian government is openly brainwashing people into unconditionally loving Justin Trudeau and his regime of unfettered madness and banning anyone from mentioning it. And it would be nice if the Canadian people on the whole could wake up and realize that this is happening and do something about it. In Minecraft, of course.
Could it be that they're too nice and they can't?
Possibly, and maybe I'm just not nice enough. But please don't re-educate me, Trudeau, if I ever come into the vicinity of Canada ever again. I like my brain the way it is. Well, I don't particularly like my brain exactly the way it is. But anything is better than letting mad social scientists scoop out my aforementioned brain and replace it with a blob of low-calorie, sugar-free maple syrup. Why is this man in power? How is this man still in power after 8 years of this bullshit? And don't just tell me it's because of Chinese interference. You're not allowed to say that. Report to your local finishing facility tomorrow morning and do not bring any ID. We will supply you with a new one. Oh, Canada!
I think it's he's in office because women and French Canada. I don't know why, but French Canada has it out for the rest of Canada. So, but I'll start with like Trudeau. He's successful with women. I don't know what to tell you. That's the pattern I keep seeing, man. Like I always, how did AOC get elected? Women. How did anybody in the squad get elected? Women. What do they do?
AOC got elected because of the Young Turks.
And yeah, that's right. And women and simps. So that it's got to end, man. It's everywhere. It's like, how did this person get into power? Well, they basically said, ladies will take care of you, and that's it. That's all you got to do. That's how you succeed in anything. You just tell women, I'll take care of you. It's going to be okay. I'm going to become rich and powerful because of you, and then I'm going to use that richness and powerfulness to help you out. And then women will vote for it. Single women without kids, especially, the best kind. Single moms also. So I don't know. That I can't think of it. Anything else? I remember the 2015 thing when Trudeau was like, they were like, why did you make half your cabinet women? And he was like, because it's 2015. Boom. He secured like 3 elections because women live vicariously through other women getting a leg up by men, I guess. So I don't know. I'm not a man. I don't know. I'm worried about things like meritocracy. That's a crazy idea, but that's kind of where my head is at.
Is it at all possible that Canada has fortified its elections in the same way so many other countries have?
Yeah, probably. I mean, but like in a way, it's already rigged because, from what I understand, there's certain provinces in Canada that if they all vote for a certain candidate, like whatever the candidate, let's say if they all get on board and vote for a certain party, then other provinces' votes don't matter. Like, because it's not done in the same way that it is in the States, where we have like a state has a number of representatives, and then those representatives cast the votes or whatever. In Canada, I think it's more. I don't want to speak on it because I'm not like well versed, but I understand that it works differently in Canada, and that usually ends up with lopsided elections like all the time. And basically, if you're in Ontario and what's the is that the French part? Whatever. If you're Quebec, yeah, like Ontario, Quebec, the Maritimes, those places, the East Coast and the center, the East, they basically just do all the elections. And like people in Alberta and Saskatchewan, their votes are pointless.
As tempting as it is to blame it all on the French,
I'm very tempted.
I'm as a Brit, I'm almost compelled. But fun fact: the majority of Canadians live below that main straight border between USA and Canada. The majority of Canadians live in that Toronto, Ottawa region. There's more people in that region than there is in the entire rest of Canada, and Canada is a huge state. So, tempting though it is, I can't blame it all on Quebec. It's mostly it's mostly the Ontarians who are to blame because they're like that's like the Canadian equivalent of Washington D.C.
of California.
Quebec is the equivalent of California. That they're the people who want to secede but never can because they're being upheld by the rest of the fucking country.
Yeah, they should though.
But it's like in every other country, metropolitan elites making the rules for the vast majority of the rest of the country.
Yeah,
and I don't know how it keeps happening. I presumably because the media is being controlled by these fucking bug men in these metropolitan areas.
Yeah, absolutely. But hey, Jordan, if you manage to survive the brainwashing, like, and you don't become completely converted, but then you're so black-pilled that you don't know if you can go on, they also provide services for that in Canada. So there you go. Take advantage of that universal health care.
And kill yourself.
And kill yourself, yes. No, I'm sorry. We call that medical assistance in dying. It's very different.
Yeah, don't kill yourself. Let the Canadian government kill you. It's not the same.
It's not the same when they do it. So, anyway, let us know what you guys think about this in the comments. I don't see any more super chows. So we're going to move on to the last story. And we're going to be talking about the Maui fires. So, and I just realized, Jay, I had you read a Lindsay write-up. I thought, for some reason, I thought you did 2, and then I just figured you did the second one.
Well, we only had 3 stories, and Lindsay grabbed 2 of them. So
yeah, she did.
But you know, I mean, I can always read.
Yeah, you did it. You did it. It's all good. So, and I'm glad that you gave us a little extra context on the Peterson thing. But anyway, let us know what you guys think about that in comments. Okay, let's move on to the Maui fires. This is not a great website, but I'll just read Gateway Pundit. So, survivors in the August 8th Maui fires say they ignored authorities and dodged barricades. If you guys know, but I think everybody knows this, but I thought it should be mentioned anyway. The morning of the fire, hurricane winds downed a power line, sparking a grass fire near, oh my god, Lahaina Luna Road. From the Star Advisor. So that's this article right here. Quote, small brush fires aren't unusual for Lahaina, and the fire department declares this one 100% contained by 9:55 a.m. The assurance puts many residents at ease. The high winds have prompted the closure of some public schools for the day, and others have not yet started. That means that many of Lahaina's 3,000 public school students are home alone while their parents work, end quote. The fire department closed the Lahaina bypass road because of the fire and live power lines, but this blocks the only route out to the south. One survivor, Kim Cuevas Reyes, said she narrowly escaped with her 12 and 15-year-old by ignoring instructions to turn right on Front Street towards Lahaina's Civic Center, which earlier in the day had been turned into a shelter for refugees. Instead, she took a left, driving in the wrong lane to pass a stack of cars heading in the other direction. The gridlock would have left us there when the firestorm came, said Cuevas Reyes, 38. I would have had to tell my children to jump into the ocean as well and be boiled alive by the flames, or we would have just died from smoke inhalation and roasted in the car. Others were able to escape using dirt roads and four-wheel drive vehicles. At 5:20 p.m., Maui County shared an update on Facebook saying the road leading south of Lahaina had been cleared, but at this point, some on Front Street had already died, many leaving their vehicles and treading water. More than 100 deaths have been confirmed, and roughly 1,000 people remain unaccounted for. Gateway Pundit reports that 2,025 students are not accounted in the Lahaina public school system in the wake of this fire. The schools are closed due to damage. Out of the 3,001 students enrolled as of August 8th, 538 have, quote, re-enrolled in other public schools, end quote. 438 have, quote, enrolled in the State Distance Learning Program, SDLP, end quote.
All right. In the normal course of things, advanced human civilizations are quite capable of dealing with forest fires and extinguishing them. Forest fires do indeed happen naturally on a regular, if infrequent, basis. Fun fact, giant sequoia trees actually rely on those forest fires for their survival, because those fires tend to burn away everything except the giant sequoias, leaving them the space they need to grow and reproduce. So the reason sequoias are now an endangered species is because human beings keep extinguishing natural forest fires. One of many such examples of humans thinking they're saving the environment, but they're actually destroying it. Obviously, sequoias only exist in that whole the Californian region, not Hawaii. The point is that it goes to show you, like I said, that humans are perfectly able to deal with naturally occurring forest fires, even to a fault. Maybe Hawaii doesn't have the emergency facilities available to the likes of California, what with it being 4 small islands in the middle of the Pacific, but still, it's by no means the first time a naturally occurring wildfire has happened in Hawaii since its colonization by humans some time ago. If humans are having trouble dealing with this rising trend of unnaturally frequent forest fires, there are several possible explanations. Number one, climate change.
Of course.
The point 0.00 something degree rise in temperatures over the summer has resulted in an insurmountable amount of trees randomly but naturally catching fire. Number two, they are not natural forest fires. They are a result of human arson, perhaps by persons who have an agenda to make gullible morons terrified of climate change, so they'll relinquish their human rights to the government in the hope that the government will change the weather. Number three, the relevant authorities just didn't feel like putting out the fire. They won't turn off the electricity, but they will turn off the water, for all the sense that makes. Apparently, they worship water, like Hindus worship cows, and they anti-worship electricity. They just, man, fuck it. Let's release the toppling electric pylons onto trees.
Only good electricity, not the bad electricity from coal.
Exactly.
Good electricity that also comes from coal, but there's more steps involved.
Much of the bad electricity as we can on as many trees as we can. Fuck them. It's not like they're a precious resource. The only resource that's precious to us is apparently water, even though we're surrounded on all sides by billions of gallons of the fucking stuff. No, you can't drink seawater, but you can sure as fuck throw it on fire. So, yeah, we're left to speculate on which of these explanations or which combination of them is to blame for this tragic loss of 1,000 lives. Actually, 3,000 if you include those 2,000 students. And it is that. We don't need to call them missing people. If you go missing in a large city, in a large country, you can be classified as missing because no one knows where you are. If you go missing in a fire on an island the size of a postage stamp, you are not missing. You're dead. You're a small pile of powdered carbon in a large pile of powdered carbon. There's no reason to assume that you're going to be miraculously found one day working as a barista in a small Argentinian village. You dead. You deader than A-line flares with pockets in them. We haven't got 100 dead people. We've got 1,000 dead people. Possibly 3,000 dead people. That is a 9/11.
Yep.
If those deaths were presentable, we have ourselves a tragedy as bad as 9/11. Like I said, it could be a result of arson. It could be a result of negligence, and it could be both. The only option that gets everyone off the hook is outcome number one: more climate change. If you believe that now, like you believed it last time and the time before that, then you will believe it next time and the time after that. And so people will continue to burn shit down and get away with it. What Antifa and BLM do to cities and get away with it, climate activists and I guess Oprah can do to the natural wonders of the world and get away with it. Because y'all are fucking idiots. You would gladly burn down the world so you can rule over the ashes. Except you won't even get to rule it. You'll be burned alive while hiding in your closet. No one will save you, and your last breath will be a subdued belch of toxic black smoke, and you'll wonder what the fuck happened to this planet you hold so dear. You happened! You people who think you're saving the world. You're the ones destroying it. And I mean every time. No one does more harm to the world than people who think they're saving it.
Yeah.
Maybe the world doesn't need to be saved. Hey? Maybe the world needs to be loaded. Make of that what you will.
Oh. Mike J, did you want to say something about this?
Well, I don't want to be conspiratorial. I would hate to spread conspiracy theories. I am a person who gets all of my opinions and news from the mainstream approved media sources and fact checkers there of the like. But isn't it kind of weird we're talking about miners on an island this soon again after the last time we talked about them?
Yeah. Ooh. That is an interesting That really,
maybe they are
almonds
just
activated.
missing.
Maybe they are just missing. Yeah.
Maybe they just wish they were dead right now.
Oh God, that's so dark, but entirely plausible. I was gonna point out that I think the important part of the story, it's really, we can talk about how the fire started and all that, and I think that that's definitely something that should be investigated, and I hope we will get more out of it, and obviously we need to figure out where these missing people are at. But I think it's really messed up that people were not allowed, essentially, people were prevented from fleeing the flames by the government of Hawaii. Essentially, right? They told them you can't leave, and their excuse was because we don't want the fire to spread or something. So a lot of people just cooked alive in their cars, waiting. I mean, and I first of all, that's extremely gruesome and dark. And only the people who actually disobeyed are the ones that lived, or at least they had a better chance of surviving. The people who literally said, no, I'm not doing that. I don't know if you notice a pattern of, if you rebel against something because you have common sense, and you're like, yeah, I think if I'm not near the flames, I'm going to be better off. That you're actually going to be better off, but you're going to have to be disobedient. You're going to have to be disagreeable, in fact.
You may have to decide that the government does not have your best interests at heart.
Yes. Yes.
As
unless
frightening as that is.
Unless it's
unless it's a virus with a 0.0000000000001 chance of surviving.
And unless it's a jab. Can I say
safe,
that on? We
safe
still
and
can't say that
effective. Can we? Can we? Well, I think everybody knows. That's just safe and
we
effective.
did a pretty good job of winking and nodding. At
Today's show is brought to you by Pfizer. But yeah, I mean, that's the one thing. The other thing that I think is kind of interesting. So we all at this point we knew that people cooked alive in their cars while they were gridlocked, trying to escape the inferno that was behind them, as all of their property was already destroyed, or basically there was no saving it. And then after the terrible thing happened, the mainstream media did an interview with the I think it's, and I could be wrong, but I think this is right, the FEMA administrator, Deanne Criswell, who is celebrated as the first female administrator of FEMA, which is, I believe, a environmental thing. And they didn't ask her about the measures that were taken. They didn't ask her about the dead. They didn't ask her about the gridlocks or anything. It was basically like a softball, is that what you call it? A softball interview about the whole thing. But we do know she's the first woman in this position, so I guess there's that. And the other thing is that there was somebody that was actually doing real journalism. You have to look him up, but it was a citizen journalist. There is there was an interview. I can give you guys a link to the video. You can look at it. It's called Hawaii Real Estate is the YouTube channel. The guy is a real estate guy that moonlights as a journalist. So it's not even his main job. He just does it on the side. And he interviewed a man who goes by Fish that survived the blaze in Lahaina. And I have the video here. It's I can show you guys if you want to look at it, a little bit of it. I think this is important. We got 15 minutes anyway. So let me share my screen so you guys can see. I don't know if you've seen this. Have you guys seen this interview with this guy? Mike and Mike? You guys seen this?
I have not seen this one, though.
I need to.
I'm going to switch to the... Yeah, just join me in the Discord. I will show a little bit of this. It kind of starts off right here. So the man on the left is Fish, and he's a resident of Hawaii, of Lahaina. And the guy on the right is the interviewee, the journalist, the part-time journalist. So Are you ready? I'm gonna play it.
It took me about an hour and a half to just get some orange juice, and so it was about 4 o'clock, and I went out and I saw the fire, and you couldn't even see the gateway because it was covered with smoke, and everyone's standing around just looking. And I said, I think we should get out of here because of the speed of this wind. It could be here in 2 minutes. So I went around back to Front Street, and all the cars were lined up, but none of them were moving. And I walked all the way from Safeway to the Chart House. Not one car had moved. And I was wondering what was stopping the traffic. Well, it was a policeman. And I got to the end and I looked up north. There were no obstructions. There was no reason to keep those cars there.
Are you serious?
I'm serious as a heart attack. And I said, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm under orders to keep them here. And I said, the fire is right around Safeway. It's going to hit Front Street. You know, these people got to get out of here. And he said, I'm following orders.
No way.
And so I just kept walking. Well, maybe he knows something I don't, you know. So, and I keep walking down the highway, and I look behind, no cars are coming out. I walked all the way to Waikuli Beach, still no cars coming out. And I started hearing boom, boom, boom. And then I heard people screaming and stuff.
You're saying they were blockaded in by the police at the end of Front Street?
Yeah.
Like where the restaurant is?
Where the Chart House
Where the
was.
Chart House was, I should
Right.
say. There was a blockade there and they could not go any further.
Right. From Safeway to there, not one car had moved. And people walking in front of me, the people in the cars are saying, would you like a ride? And they go, oh, okay. And they'd get in. They asked me, no, you better get out of here. You know, but they just, well, we were told to evacuate by car.
All right, I'm just gonna stop it there. So, this guy, yeah, go ahead.
At the beginning of this, I saw many people, and I saw a lot of commentators, and I agreed with this. That this should be referred to as Biden's Katrina. That's the level of severity that this should be.
I think it's more. I think it's more than that. But go ahead.
Let us not forget East Palestine. Biden has had several Katrinas.
But at this point, with so many cock-ups, so many lives lost, I am going around to the randomer cam wave thinking, no, this is like 9/11, except they did it to themselves.
How is that not like 9/11? Sorry.
But and that's just the thing I'm not seeing anybody really talk about. This should be so much worse than it is. This should be the thing that is fresh at the forefront of everyone's memory 1 year from now, when they're getting ready to enter that polling place, or who am I kidding? Sit at their coffee table with their ballot in hand from the mail.
Yeah, no, we can't allow cannot allow themselves to forget this. I mean, I know that some people won't because they either were there or they have friends and family there, but don't forget what happened here, because you know they're counting on this being memory hold. It's like the Tennessee shooter. We never got the manifest, but then there was this other shooting that just happened. The manifest was out within 24 hours. So just remember how that works. I'm sorry, Mike. Were you done?
That was pretty much the end of my thing. Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, yeah, it's really tragic, unfortunate, and shit that should not happen. But don't allow this to get memory hold. Just make sure people remember what happened here. This is like 9/11, and I mean, like, everyone remembers 9/11, so why can't we remember Maui? All right. But anyway, that is going to be all of our stories. I thought it went well, 7:20, so not bad. I'm going to be wrapping this up. I did get one more Super Chow, so we should probably do that last Super Chow and then wrap it up. Woo! So, Really Makes Me Thunk gives us $5 and says, suspiciously, California hasn't caught a massive wildfire this year so far. I bet the arsonists were sent to Hawaii this year. I disavow. Misinformation. Fact checkers. Somebody. It couldn't be that. It couldn't be that. but who knows? Okay. But anyway, thanks for all the super chows. Thank you for the live chat. Thank you for the folks on Rumble. And hopefully we'll see you guys a little bit later when Lindsay and I play Family Feud on Honey Badger Arcade. So please come on over there. We'll probably get started like soon after I end the show here. And yeah, we'll see you then. So if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on today's show and all of the stories, and we'll talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude, okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.